just coming up now. Just a couple of house rules. Please keep your mics on mute unless otherwise notified. Sometimes we do have questions via mic. Otherwise, usually our questions come via our chat function in the Teams box. Most of you have been asking lots of questions along the way in terms of in our various sessions, so we look forward to hearing from you. This session, as I said, is part of our live MPW Colleges stream. I'm delighted to welcome my colleague Emma from MPW London, who also has students with her, I know, to take this session. So over to you. Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you, Simon. All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this next session. So we're going to be talking today about pastoral care and extracurricular support at MPW. I understand it's been a bit of a busy morning. You've had maths, you've had economics. So we're going to have a bit of a more informal conversation now. I'm going to present to you my two student ambassadors. And so if I can ask Theo and Ariana to join us and unmute their microphones. Hi, Theo.
Hi, Emma.
And Ariana. Hi, Ariana. So we're very lucky, as I say today, to be joined by both of you. You're very dedicated student ambassadors, I know. So we really appreciate you spending your time with us. So as I say, I'm the admissions officer at MPW London. So we're going to discuss the extracurricular, so sports, clubs, societies, everything that you can get involved in outside of the academics. So while, of course, the academics is very important for us, we think equally so is student life. So whether that's the emotional support that students might require or the social input. So really being able to settle in quickly and spend times with their friends outside of lessons. So I think if we could kick off with perhaps, Ariana, if you could just give yourself a bit of an introduction, what you're studying, when you joined MPW, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Ariana. I joined MPW just last September, so I've just finished my first year. I'm 6 and I'm studying English literature, classics, and theatre.
Great, thank you. And you, Theo?
Hi, I'm Theo, as Emma said. I'm now at Cardiff University, so I left MPW last year, and I did all the way from year 10 all the way through to year 13, so kind of everything that you could have almost experienced as a student.
And when you joined us, Ariana, what was the atmosphere of the school that you were in previously in comparison to MPW? Were there any major differences that you felt?
So I went to a performing arts school, so it was very, very loud, a difficult environment for academics. So something which I loved about MPW is how small the classes are and how quiet it can be, because it's really nice in between classes to meet friends and chat, and then it's a lovely social environment. But in lessons, there's really the opportunity to concentrate properly, and everyone wants to be there and wants to work. It's really cool.
Yeah. Was that something that you found, Theo? Were there any other differences that you could add to that?
I think for me, obviously, Ariana went to performing arts school, but I went to a state school before, so I was in a school that was kind of 30 people per class. So for me, going from that to kind of 7 or 8 in a class when I joined, that was very different. I think often in my previous school, there were lots of times where I could never ask a question. Right. And then coming to MPW, obviously, there are so many provisions, even if you can't ask a question in lesson, kind of other than that, outside kind of surgeries or study skills workshops, etc. That was a major difference for me that I felt straight away.
Yeah, lovely. So now that you've got to know us a bit better, I think we have a few students on the call today, which is wonderful. So we really want to encourage you as guest students to really get involved in the chat. Ask us any questions, because now's your real opportunity to really have the behind the scenes of what it's like to be an MPW student. So do ask them anything that you're interested in, because it really will help getting the full picture before you join us in September. So we're going to kick off with pastoral support at MPW. So just to give you a general overview, really, of the provision of pastoral support at MPW. So at MPW, you will often hear the acronym DOS. So a DOS is Director of Studies, DOS, the DOS. each student is allocated a DOS who will be with them either for 1 year or even throughout the time, depending on the situation that they're at the college for. It's very much like a personal tutor role. So it's that one person that the student is allocated to that will be with them and help out with everything. Theo, do you want to just elaborate a bit more on the DOS role for me?
Yeah, so for my DOS was Maya. So when I joined year 10, I got allocated Maya straight away, and then I had her all the way through to year 13. So for me, I had her for kind of 3.5, 4 years. And for us, we had quite a close relationship in GCSE, in year 10 and GCSE. You do have to have a meeting with them for every 2 weeks. That's kind of scheduled in, but obviously for Maya, her door was always open. So I kind of went and see her on a much more regular basis. And also in year 11, you do have registration at the start of the day, kind of 15 minutes, just allows you. So if you do have any queries for her, you can go and speak to her straight away. But yeah, our relationship was very good. Slightly more informal, kind of in year 12 and year 13, I booked less formal meetings unless I really need to speak about something like a personal statement or UCAS. Often I just kind of go in there, how are you, what's going on, how are your lessons, etc. And it'd be kind of can be brief chat, or it can be kind of a longer chat if something's going on. But I had a very good relationship and kind of quite informal. I didn't often kind of book a formal meeting for half an hour, go and speak to something particular, kind of just go as and when I needed to. And if any particular issues I'd rised up, I went and spoke to her about it. So I had a really good relationship with her.
And was that the same for you, Ariana? Was it quite informal?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was quite easy to form a connection with your DOS, and I found that almost immediately fine, because at the beginning of the year, the meetings were a lot more regular, and it was always tell that your DOS was always wanting to get to know you, and it was really nice because previously in bigger schools, the teachers don't always know the name, or they don't always remember what career path you're intending to go on. And so having a personal tutor who remembers my name and remembers all of my subjects, exactly what I want to do in life, was really lovely, because it means that you can have a personal connection and you can talk about informal things and then something more formal to do with your subject, your timetables. So there's just so much and it's really
I think it's sorry, go on.
No, I was just continuing from what Ariana said. I think it's kind of that because they know you, because as you said, kind of at the start when you go, there's a lot more formal meetings, so you can get to know each other straight away. I think as it goes on, it means you can have more of a kind of continuing conversation when you bump into them. Oh, how's it go? How's this going? How's that going? Particularly when I don't know if you get it next year or when you apply for university. That is kind of very important. Oh, how's your draft coming for your personal statement? Stuff like that is really important, just to have a continual conversation rather than kind of have just half an hour meetings every 2 weeks, which means kind of you're very confined to that.
Yes, I think it's an interesting point that you both mentioned with the informal relationship with the personal tutor, and it's something that's quite special and quite unique to MPW. We're very lucky that we have many DOSs who work in the college, and so typically they would maybe look after 20, 30 students, and they get to know them all very well. The lovely thing with the informal relationship is that really is something that is part of being an MPW student. So I'm sure, as all of you guest students might be aware, there is no uniform at MPW. We call the tutors and the staff by the first name. So it's very much kind of treating the students like adults and really giving them that respect and the freedom and the independence that allows them to then flourish. Because as you can see with our 2 student ambassadors, by having this kind of informal relationship with a personal tutor, it's very easy for them to approach them with any problems, with any things that they might need help with. And so students feel really very supported, because it's almost like having a friend that you go and say, oh, I'm having some trouble with my UCAS statement, I need some help with it. So we touched on a couple of things that the DOS team help with. So they help with the UCAS statement, personal statements. Is there anything else that you could elaborate on, perhaps Ariana?
For me personally, I was initially looking at getting a part-time job at some point, Saturday or during summer, and since coronavirus, I have not yet got one. But my DOS, while I was at MPW in the first year, supported me and helped me find something to suit me, and not simply something which I got money from, but something that I could enjoy. So I love acting, we were thinking about selling tickets to theatre, and my DOS, even, I think the great thing about having a DOS is that the relationship doesn't end once you leave the room, because I would come back the next week and she would have found some jobs for me in her personal time. And it just felt really lovely to know that she had my back and was helping me find a job or look at university, help my future.
And in GCSE, Theo, I know that you were with us for both year 10 and year 11. So what kind of things did your personal tutor help you with outside of classes?
Well, for me, I was similar to Ariana. I'm kind of in the really up to GCSEs. Obviously, you're thinking about revision timetables. That was a main thing. But also, I was trying to get a part-time job in the summer, so Maya really helped me with that. Got a couple of interviews out of that as well. I think also what hasn't been touched on is if you want to do so I do geography at Cardiff University. So this isn't, I can't speak for myself here, but I know plenty of people at the school that wanted to go into a vocational degree like medicine or like veterinary science, where you have to kind of do exams beforehand, and they really help you with the preparation of that going into those universities, because obviously those application processes start a lot earlier than the typical process. Doing those exams, I think I know the UK CAT or the BMAT for medicine, with those really helpful preparation with stuff like that. So I think that's one that they've really helped, not me personally, but a lot of my friends.
Sure. And aside from the academics then, aside from the UCAS and the possibly work experience, is there anything else that you would go to your DOS for?
Go on, Ariana, go on.
I think just for checking in, really, because if you want to meet new friends, even, I mean, I met quite a few friends through my DOS, and that gives you quite a strong relationship, and your DOS can connect you because she knows you all. So she knows, perhaps she can almost make friends because she knows that you both like the same subject, or you're both doing the same subject, and that kind of thing. So definitely making friends that way. And just having someone to talk to, because sort of with mental health or with how you're feeling, you can't always speak to someone at home, say. So having someone at college who is sort of distant from your personal life but still understands it, it's really nice to just have someone to.
Yeah, I think the mental health point is a massive one, because they know you quite well during the college. They can often tell if something's different, and also exactly if you don't want to speak to your friends and family about it, if you don't want to have to go through that kind of, if you don't want to have to go and speak to them, DOS is an easy kind of confidant at the college. I think for me, with my our conversation was always, it was about whatever it needed to be about. There was no, I can't sit here and tell you we spoke about this, and this. It was often just, I could do with a bit more of this, I could do with a bit more of that, and what she was doing as well. It was kind of much more of kind of as and when, if we need to speak about something than we would otherwise. We could speak about anything, really.
And again, was that, Theo, something that you didn't have at your previous school? Was it something that was new for you?
Yeah, massively. I had to almost accustom myself to it, because I had never had anything similar to that at all. So we had a form tutor, not even a personal tutor. We had a form tutor, which kind of would do your registration for half an hour in the morning, and then 5 minutes in the afternoon. That'll be it. So if I had any particular issues, they would not be my first port of call at all at the school. I don't know what. I suppose in year 7, 8, and 9, you don't have really many massive issues. You're not doing GCSEs or A levels. So yeah, I kind of not found it hard to accustom myself, but I had to get used to the fact that that if I did have an issue, I could go to this person rather than just having to deal with it myself. And I think, I never had anything like that at all. So for me, it was really nice to kind of come to the school and make the most of that, I suppose.
Yes, and for a student who perhaps is a little bit more shy, or as you say, hasn't been used to having someone who's so accessible to them as a member of staff, would it be possible for them to almost fall through the cracks, or is there that kind of safety blanket for them?
I would say, because of how personal the relationship is, and also in your classes as well, your teachers realise, because there's such few people in your classes, I think I couldn't name you any people that fall through the cracks. I think just because, as you said, a DOS has kind of 20 to 25 students often to look after. That's their main responsibility. So it's very, very unlikely that anyone's going to fall through the cracks and kind of be struggling at the school, kind of friends-wise, etc. Because of, and I'm sure we'll touch on extracurricular later, which helps with that as well. but because you've got such a personal relationship, because they're in kind of constant discussion and conversation with the teachers, that's very unlikely, I think.
So Ariane, could you perhaps elaborate on that? So we've mentioned that the DOS helps out with meetings and that they'll meet on you on a regular basis, but Theo also mentioned then that they speak with the tutors. How would they help you by speaking with the tutors?
So my DOS, I was initially in my first year, I wasn't sure whether I would do a 1 year A-level or over years for theatre. And so I was deciding that with my daughter because she could communicate with me. She could communicate with me and work out how I feel. And then I don't have to directly tell my teacher if I'm not comfortable with. And then if I want a bit of extra study time or if I'm a bit uncertain about a subject, then my daughter will make sure that she works that into my time, or that I have study time, or that she speaks to the teacher and check going. So that was really, and I think tying in with that is that when your daughter knows your teacher well, I started off with 4 A-levels, now I do 3. So I started off with history, and I did it for a couple of weeks, and I decided that it wasn't for me and there was too much workload. So my daughter was able to help me drop the subject, which was something I was quite nervous to do. But she made it very easy, and so she spoke to the teacher and she communicated with the teacher, and it just made it so much more relaxed, and there was no stress involved when I started.
Great. I hope everybody heard that. I think your signal, Ariana, might be a little bit in and out, but I think everybody might have caught that. And so Ariana was saying that the DOS is very much the link between the tutors and the student. So with regards to exam results, with regards to homework, making sure that the student's happy with the subject, they're very much the connection. And they're also the connection between the college and the home, so students and home. So especially with regards to communicating attendance and communicating exam results, communicating reports, that would all be the responsibility of the DOS, of the personal tutor. Does anybody so far have any questions that they'd like to ask the students? Just pop it in the chat box and we'll be very happy if you have a particular question about the DOS system. If not, Theo, do you want to perhaps talk a little bit more about the study skills, which is another element of pastoral care at MPW? And if we get any questions coming through in the chat box, then we can just take a moment to answer those.
Yeah, so study skills I really use when I kind of run up to exams, but they're available all year round. So most of the time they are, I think they're almost kind of 1 or 2 hours every day. So there's never a time where you can't go to a study skills surgery. And that's more to do with, that's less content based. That's not kind of about, for example, in economics, that's not about kind of aggregate supply and aggregate demand. That's more about your essay writing skills and actually kind of translating your knowledge onto paper and into writing. Not only essay skills, but kind of time management as well. I think a lot of people kind of struggle with, they might know the content, but they don't have all the time to kind of get it down on paper. So it's kind of that more exam-based skills rather than knowledge-based skills. As I said, kind of time management, essay writing, stuff like that, which actually is really almost as important as having the knowledge, because if you have the knowledge but then without the exam skills, you're gonna struggle. So it's more, it's more kind of exam focused and less about the actual content. Absolutely,
I definitely think the key buzzwords any student who joins us will hear floating around amongst students is meeting with my DOS and I'm going to a surgery. So the DOS and the surgery refers to our study skills workshop. So as Theo very rightly said, it's a surgery that you can sign up to and it takes place twice throughout the day, every day. So there's always an opportunity for you to go to, and it's really helping with exam technique. So when you receive your timetable in September, it will look fairly empty. You'll only have your lessons on there. So then with your director of studies, you work to add in extra things. And one of those extra things, one of those extra activities is a study skills surgery. Ariana, do you often go to study skills surgeries?
I haven't done yet. I had quite a packed time, but I definitely want to in the next.
Yeah, and they, as Theo said, they help with the making a revision timetable, helping on, for example, essay technique, how to lay out an essay, and there's lots of different things surgeries can help with, so they're definitely recommended. Is there any other kind of pastoral provision that we help with at MPW that you would like to mention?
I think one that we haven't mentioned that I haven't personally made use of, but I know plenty of people that have, is the counselling service. So we've got Jemima up in Harrington, and Edwin as well. Those two guys, they're really, really helpful. If the counselling service, if you want to kind of speak about certain things that you don't want to even speak to a DOS about, there is a particular issue that you want to get over, or maybe it's a more long-term thing, they're really, really helpful. As I've said, my friends have gone to them, and that they've said it's really, really helped them. But obviously, I haven't been to myself. But I think that's a really, really important thing we should mention.
Definitely. So our on-site college counsellors, as Thea rightly says, we have 2 college counsellors. Students can book a 50-minute session with them, and that's just extra support that we provide students just to make sure. It can be a very difficult time joining a new school, especially if you're perhaps coming from another country. Settling in can be very difficult, and we of course understand that and want to support students the best we can. So our on-site college counsellor is available to all students. Now I suppose tying in with settling in and making friends, unless we have any specific questions, or you two like to add any other points about the extra support that our Director of Studies and the pastoral care, then we can move on to extracurriculars.
No, I think that's good. Oh, sorry.
One thing to point out is that in other schools, it can often be quite intimidating to speak to a teacher or to go to about a personal problem or anything to do with your mental health. And I, in my old school, had a welfare team, but I was always way too intimidated to go to, because it was a particular room, and there was a kind of stigma which surrounded the room which you had to go to, and then everyone knew that it was wrong. And you never have that with the DOS hub, which is where you find your DOS at most of the day. And it just felt so much more comfortable.
Absolutely, it's very normal. Everybody is always talking about their DOS and having a meeting with them or going to say hi. You're definitely right there.
Yeah, I think that word Ariana used, stigma, there is often a stigma attached to certain places in a bigger school, whereas people, if you're going to people know you've got a particular issue, whereas because you've got the DOS hub where kind of 7 or 8 DOSes are, and there are other DOSes kind of dotted around the school, that certainly isn't the case at MPW.
Yes, so as the student ambassadors say, the DOS hub is what we call the central office. It's more MPW lingo that everybody needs to get used to. It's our central office where all of our DOSes sit and meet with their students. It's a very relaxed atmosphere, always busy, so DOSes are always available. It's an open door policy, so everybody's very welcome. Right, well, I think we can move on to extracurriculars now. I am going to share my screen and we will show you a short video with some extracurricular activities. So just let me know if this doesn't work for any reason. Okay. Let me turn that off. Okay, great. So those are some of the, I suppose, extracurricular activities that we offer at MPW. We have sports, we have all kinds of things available. I think firstly it would be a good idea because we have so many different things that are on offer aside from the academics. As I mentioned earlier, it's not just about the studies while you're at MPW. You're very welcome to make full use of all of the facilities that we have. So there are so many. I think that we should probably start off with perhaps discussing some of the extracurricular activities that our student ambassadors took part in, and you can hear firsthand really what their experience was. So Ariana, as you mentioned, I know you're a keen actress. So what kind of thing are you involved in outside of your classes?
So I there's a drama club which I attend, and I was quite surprised. Previously I've done acting exams, but I wasn't sure whether MPW would do them. But there's very few students who join the drama club, but it makes it so personal, and it means that I can continue to do the acting exams. So I think the main thing is that no matter what you want to do, MPW will always cater to it and will always make sure that there's a way in which you can do it. So I do the drama club weekly and we learn so many new skills, and it's really enjoyable, and it's also a great way to make friends.
Mm-hmm. So we have drama club, definitely. How about you, Theo? Are you in the drama club?
Not quite.
Not yet.
So not yet. So for year 10 and 11, I did football, and that was kind of just what most GCSE students did, really. Kind of just down in Chiswick, so we went there, kind of got a coach there, did football with a couple of coaches, with two actual coaches. And then in year 12 and 13, I played cricket. So a few of us went down to Lords, and kind of that was very much in year 12. There are a few of us got together and thought, actually, we'd like to do that, to kind of implored our DOSs to kind of get that going. And so then we started doing it that way. So I think if there's enough people that want to do one thing, then a college is more than happy to cater for that. If you kind of get a group of mates, it probably could be 2 or 3 of you. And if you wanted to do a certain thing, the college is more than happy to cater for that. As I said, I did football year 10 and 11, and cricket year 12 and 13.
Yeah, so we have many sports on offer in terms of extracurricular activities. There's football, rugby, cricket, golf, yoga. We have a boot camp trainer who started last year, so we do boot camp as well for anybody that wants to do some high intensity training. And as Theo says, if there is a sport or an activity that some of our students want to club together in and form that society, then MPW will lay that on. So you just need to speak with your director of studies and they will help with that. Aside from the sports, what other activities are available outside of sports for extracurriculars?
Well, there's all sorts. You got kind of student council, as shown in the clip, Model United Nations, which I know plenty of people get involved with. There's social enterprise as well. There's quiz teams, music, chess club, all sorts. Art as well. If you don't do art, you can do it on a Wednesday afternoon. Kind of pretty endless number of activities. And again, with that, if you did want to start something else and enough people wanted to do it, then it kind of, you are implored to, I suppose.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that makes all of our extracurricular activities very successful, and our sports teams in particular very successful, is the fact that they aren't compulsory. So students choose if they want to spend their free time doing some extracurricular activities at the college, or if they prefer to be doing something else externally. So the difference really between the GCSE programme and the A-level programme is that at A-level, students do have free time during the day, and they have the choice if they want to leave school and if they perhaps prefer to study in a library or go to one of the local museums in South Kensington, perhaps have a trip to the V&A, or they can take part in our extracurricular activities. So none of the extracurricular activities we have are compulsory, and that really does make the difference in, I suppose, the success of them. How did you find making friends and settling in when you joined the college? Did you use extracurricular activities to help with that?
Yeah, I think because when you go on a Wednesday afternoon, for example, cricket, you go and you've already got a shared common interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's not kind of, oh, what do you guys like doing? And what do you do with your free time? You've already got a shared common interest, so you've already got something in common straight away that you can talk about. And then from that you can find more and more things in common. I think because with extracurricular you've already got that definite shared common interest, it makes it even easier just to make some friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And have either of you been to the Imperial College gym?
I didn't know because I think they changed it in when I went into year 13. And obviously I was working quite hard, so I didn't have time to. But I know plenty of people that did. I know people that kind of used it almost every day. Just go to the front desk, kind of change the card, get the card, and kind of 5-10 minute walk up the road. So it's dead easy.
Yeah, and again, it's not compulsory. So if you're not a gym goer and you don't want to go to the gym, then that's not a problem. But if you do enjoy going to the gym, for our students, we do have free access to Imperial College Gym Ethos. So Ethos is located about a 10-minute walk from MPW, if that, and it's just around the corner from us. And students will get a gym membership. It's a shared membership with all our students. So you will just go to our reception desk and one of our secretaries can give you the gym pass, and you will have the gym pass for 2 hours. You have full access to the swimming pool, to the gym. You have all of the fitness suite there. There's plenty of things for you to do. So as Theo says, some of his friends, especially during exam period, if you're feeling quite stressed, if you're feeling quite anxious, it's a great way to just blow off some steam and get that anxiety out. And then alongside the sports provisions that we have with the gym, we also lay on higher education fairs. Ariana, could you talk a bit about our higher education fairs?
Yeah, I think so. It's just down the road. So down the road from MPW London is BPA, which is quite a big hall and I think it's a hotel, but we have access to the hall there. And we had a uni fair or a higher education fair where loads of universities came in, representative speak, and the whole hall was packed. And they had to go around, could speak to them, get information, find out about the course subject, and find out about the living facility, the building, everything that they had, the activities that they do, and it was all in one place. So I think definitely when going to university, it can almost be a bit scary because there's so many to choose from and there's so many websites and so much to look at. But it really made it so much easier because it brought it all into one room and it made it quite personal to you because you didn't have to go to every single school. You could find the ones which did your subject, find the ones in the area. So it was really lovely to have that support and to know that MPW has your back.
Exactly, and it really is those connections with the universities. So as you may have seen if you tuned in for the short video that we showed earlier, not only do we have the connections with the universities where they come to the college for our higher education fairs and will speak to students, but we will also have representatives from the universities who will come and do lectures. So we have our principals lectures, and often they're with very interesting stories, and perhaps it'll be a bit of a controversial topic, and we'll have either a speaker from a university or perhaps we've even had many other speakers, motivational speakers, who will come to the college and talk to us. For extracurricular activities, would you like to add anything else, and do any of our prospective guest students have any questions for us?
Another thing which we were given the opportunity to do.
I'm sorry, Ariana, you broke up a bit then.
Another thing which we were able to do was the film. So Young Film Academy came in and we were able to work with them, get experiences in big groups, and the entirety of the year did it. So that was quite nice.
That's a great point.
And I think because that's the start of year 12 where there's a massive influx, you have lots and lots of students joining year 12, because the whole year's there. That's a great way to make friends early on, particularly if you don't know many people at the college. You can get to know plenty of people. You're in a group of kind of 10 for most of the day, so you just don't just socialize with them. So I think that's a great way to start making friends. A great way to make friends at the start of year 12, particularly. And again, that's quite a nice day, really, because you're not in lessons. It's a Friday. It's quite a nice way to end the week, and you meet plenty of new people at the start of the year there's lots and lots of new students. I remember, because obviously I was there in year 11. I remember thinking I'm in a room at my own school where I don't recognise half the people, at least. And so that's a great way to meet new people and kind of form some good friendships early on.
And how well, Theo, would you say MPW supports new students in settling into the college? Because obviously it can be quite a scary time for students, the idea of going to a new school and everybody else knows their way around and everybody knows each other. How did you think that MPW?
Yes, I think I'll split my answer to two parts. I think if you come in at the start of a year, particularly in year 12 or year 13, you're in the same boat as probably kind of 150, 200 other people. So it's just, you're all in the same boat. Everyone's trying to form friendship. Everyone's a bit awkward, but everyone wants to say hi. I think at the start of the year, coming in is relatively easy because, as I said, a lot of people are in the same boat. And so everyone's kind of keen to make friendships. Everyone's kind of keen to have a chat early on. And like with stuff like film day and extracurricular, it means you can get common interests with people very quickly. From my perspective, I joined kind of just at the start, not right at the start of year 10, but just after. So I kind of came in where a lot of people already had friendships and already had bonds. So I think coming in at the start of the year is slightly harder. And I found it slightly harder, but again, I still think it's relatively easy because of the small class size. You can have a chat with your mates just before the class or just after the class or in the break in the middle. And then also with extracurricular, as I said, you've got common interests with people straight away. So I think probably slightly harder coming in through in the middle of the year, but again, dead easy because of how small the college is and how personable it is.
Would you agree, Ariana? Would you want to add anything with that?
I think I joined at the beginning of the year, which I completely agree with Theo, gives you a great opportunity to meet so many people, because even on that first day when you're really nervous, you're not sure whether you're going to be able to make friends, you can meet really easily. And I think it's very easy when you join at the beginning, but I think also I've made quite a few friends who have joined later. And MPW, through the DOS system or through different teachers, will often set up a new student on a lunch so that they can make friends before they join on their first day. And so I have met quite a few people before they've started their classes at MPW, so that they have someone that they know. And I think that's a really nice thing to do.
Absolutely, yes. Well, does any of our guest students have any questions that they would like to ask our student ambassadors? We'll give them a minute or so to type any questions in the chat function. So please do ask them, because here we have MPW students, and if you want to know any information before you join, that would be great. And if not, I suppose we can leave with some final comments, perhaps Theo, about the overall, your opinion on the extracurricular activity provision at MPW.
I think just if anyone's typing, I'll just speak very quickly. I think for me, it's great. I think for me, as I said, kind of at the start of year 12, I'd done football for 2 years, really enjoyed that, but kind of wanted to do something different. I think cricket is my main sport. And because we just got a few people together, and we kind of spoke to all our DOSs, and we was able to get sorted very, very quickly. So I think it is completely tailored to whatever you want to make it. And as Emma said, because it's not compulsory, because you don't have to do it, the people there are the people that actually really want to be there, and we want to do something, kind of make the most out of a session. For example, if I had a session, we had coaches at the sessions, so kind of really make something out of that and really trying to improve my game in the cricket example. Whereas in music, you might want to get better at guitar or whatever. But I think it's completely up to you. And I think if you want to add another kind of form of extracurricular, you're more than welcome to do that. So I think it's really, really good.
Thank you. And yourself, Ariana?
I think with the small classes in extracurricular as well, it's not always massive, and it means that you meet people, like Theo said, who want to be there because it's culture, and you meet people who are on a similar journey to you, perhaps, or someone with similar interests. And I think one of the massive things about making friends is finding things in common, which can be really tedious in small talk. So if you're already in a group together, then you know both like drama, for instance, and then you can talk about things that are linked to drama until you find something else which you connect on. So that's quite a nice way to do it.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have any questions coming through on the chat, so I hope that we've answered everybody's questions that perhaps they've been thinking about what's available in terms of extracurricular at MPW and how do we help students.
So thank you very much. So I have one question. We always ask this question of students. If I was going to join MPW in September and I was thinking about it now, what's the one piece of advice you would give to somebody starting anew at MPW in September?
I would say, I think just try and get as involved as possible. I think as the year goes on, it becomes harder and harder to make friends, or you might want to join an extracurricular club because you think, oh, they've already formed friendships. So I think just from day one, just try and speak to as many people as possible. If you maybe join 2 or 3 extracurricular clubs, try a couple of them, and if you don't like them, then fair enough. But I think meet your DOS early on as well, because the more they get to know you, the more they can help you. I just think just try and involve yourself as much as you can early on, I think.
I think for me, my one piece of advice to myself and to people joining is don't panic, because I became quite stressed worrying about which A-level subjects I would do and whether I'd make friends and what the teacher would be like. But it's so much of a relaxed and friendly and warm environment that there's no need to stress out, because there will always be that.
That's great advice.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, look, thank you, Theo. Thank you, Ariana. I've had the pleasure of listening to you guys before, and it still is extremely impressive and extremely helpful. So thank you, and thank you for being so generous with your time. And Emma, thank you as well for bringing this together and for curating it so expertly. For our audience, we have about 15 minutes, and then for today, we'll be back to our last session. Our last session today is around law and is about preparing for high quality universities and law schools in particular. So that will start in just over 15 minutes. But once again, thank you to the MPW team and MPW team, and we'll see you over the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo and Ariana.
Thank you.